when wokeness first came around, I had a feeling that it might just be a really, really stupid fad. I mean, we had all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Of course, I came across this clip from the school board that brings up a very good point, which, by the way, is a point that I've stayed away from. Now, guys, I'm going to show you that here in a second. But I'm going to give you guys some initial thoughts here really quick about this whole wokeness thing, which, by the way, of course, I've had to call out on multiple occasions. And due to the fact that YouTube will start banning channels at some point in time for pointing out the nuttiness of social justice warriors, it's the reason why a lot of this content that you see right here of me right in front of my camera phone, which of course will eventually get replaced with an actual camera at some point in time, they will also be going on Rumble. But the thing is this right here. Wokeness is a problem. Now, I initially thought that it was just a stupid fad. Okay, we had all kinds of crap going on between the years of 2015 and 2018. I mean, you had kids out there that were eating Tide Pods, the Tide Pod Challenge. I thought that was obviously very dumb, dangerous too. Then you had people licking ice cream, which I thought was just mean. And then somebody suggested to me that maybe they should try, I don't know, like licking raw chicken or something like that. I mean, I just figured that I would just go ahead and throw that out there because stupid is as stupid does. And of course, if you play stupid games, you obviously win stupid prizes. Now, this whole wokeness thing started. It felt to me like it was all just atonement for crap that you did when you were very young, bringing up issues of race, which quite frankly were already settled a long time ago. And by the way, I will admit, this country does have a past with that. We had slavery. It was kind of our original sin. Of course, the Civil War settled that. And of course, after the Civil War, you had slave owners that were not paying, they were like working people that had been slaves, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, you had Jim Crow. And eventually, over time, we had civil rights movement. We had all kinds of stuff. By the way, I'll be watching Uncle Tom 2 here in the near future. I saw the first one, very good. But my gripe with that is that it costs $20 to watch, and I don't believe in paying $20 for a rental. Okay, I mean, I'm probably not going to buy the movie either, so I just wait till it gets on Amazon Prime. Of course, it never does. But the fact of the matter is this right here. We eventually got beyond that, so I was thinking, okay, maybe this wokeness crap is just a very sick fad, and maybe we'll just get beyond it. And then, of course, wokeness turns into biological man or man, a person who identifies as man, has baby, which is obviously a woman who looks like a man who is actually going out of their way to be a man, has a baby. Stuff like that right there. Nuttiness, craziness. You've got white boys out there getting pigment surgeries, kind of like the character Lincoln Osiris and Tropic Thunder and all that stuff there. And of course, the wokeness just gets out of hand. However, I never thought for 1 second that it would actually get to our school system and affect our small children. Of course, we have had several people. We've had to sign bills, stuff like the Parental Rights Act legislation. The left likes to call it the Don't Say Gay bill. Of course, we had a whole nightmare about that. Of course, the shit that happened in Loudoun County, where a student was actually raped by another student who went inside the bathroom to actually rape said student. And of course, to go on top of that, that story was swept under the rug due to all the nuttiness. And it took a long time to get justice for that. Now, guys, we could probably go back to the North Carolina bathroom bill where biological men were trying to get into the bathroom to actually get a hold of women. Let's just go ahead and be honest what the hell that right there really truly was. These right here were dudes who were trying to sexually assault women. That right there is the only reason why they would actually claim that they're a woman, so that way they can go in there. You see, wokeness created, or the system that we're living in right now, the type of weird double helix that we're living in, has created a system for nefarious means. I brought this up in the Club Q video, which if I can, I'll try to leave it in the description box, where I mentioned that the non-binary shooter was not really truly non-binary. All you had to do was take a look at a photo of him, and you could tell that he was not. And of course, he took advantage of it because he's using it as victim status. I'll give you another example. Do you guys remember when Kevin Spacey, when he decided to, he decided to say he was a homosexual when it was revealed that he was sexually assaulting kids. He was sexually assaulting minors on the set of his films. I actually went back and watched a documentary on that. Apparently, he'd been doing this shit right here since the early 80s. So the whole wokeness thing has created a system in which obviously people can get away with just about anything. And that was the type of society we're living in. I mean, I just did a video the other day that Project Veritas had released about a guy named Bruno in Chicago who was giving kids sexual toys. I can't go into the full details without possibly getting banned because this channel here has a propensity to get strikes. By the way, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button for the algorithm and leave your comment in the comment section. Kind of help the video out. And make sure you subscribe. Only about 30% of you guys are subscribed to the channel. But back on topic. Thing is this right here. Wokeness has created an environment where criminals can get away with just about anything. They can identify, males can identify as women, and women can obviously identify as dudes. And if you say something about it, you run the risk of possibly getting your channel strike. I mean, free speech is kind of dead, especially here on the internet.com. But then I came across this clip, which I brought up earlier. And I'm going to run this for you because there's something said by the second lady who comes up here. Now, of course, there's also the lady who's dressed up like a cat, which obviously she was dressed up for the reasons of trolling these people. We'll get to that on this other side too, that nobody is even talking about. Let's go ahead and roll this.
Meow. I'm not a woman dressed as a cat. I am a cat. By show of hands, I'm curious, how many of you believe and confess that I'm a cat? Great. By show of hands, I'm curious, how many of you believe that your child or a child from this school would believe that I'm actually a cat? No one. You are right. Why? Because you are not stupid, and these children are not stupid. Truth prevails over imagination. Reality exists. Discernment is innate and something we are biologically wired to have. One look at me, and you know this to be true. I am a woman posing as a cat. You may also think correctly that if I truly believe I'm a cat, I have a mental disorder. If I suffer from a mental disorder, and if I am unable to discern reality, am I safe to be around children? Would you put me in charge of making critical decisions about the safety and well-being of children and about the direction of their education when I cannot even discern truth from fiction? Confession. I'm not actually a cat, guys, just because I say I am. You've not agreed to or committed to addressing me as a cat simply because I demand it. No tail, whiskers, or outfit makes me a cat, just like no lipstick, high heels, or long hair makes him a man, a woman. It is just as biologically impossible for me to become a cat as it is for a man to be a woman. And you have one job as members of this school board, and it's defined as this. School board members are responsible for broad, forward-thinking, minute analysis and decisive action in all areas that affect students and staff in their schools. I ask as a woman, affects the students and staff positively or negatively. A public school is not the place for social experiments in altered realities or gender ideologies. It is not the place to celebrate a grown man with a mental illness, dressing as a woman, and teaching kids lies. Children come to school to learn facts and truths about reality, including unchanging biological truths about science and nature, not to learn that they can change biological realities and become anything they want in the name of diversity.
Children. And we happened to talk with, or after such a talk, an 11-year-old girl came out. And she was just asking about, are you against this? I mean, isn't it, shouldn't we be more accepting with these? Shouldn't we be more accepting? And as the questions were being asked, she shared with us that she played on the girls' volleyball team, 11 years old, played on the girls' volleyball team. And she knew it was a man. It wasn't just because you're in a dress or you're wearing certain clothes does not make you a female. She knew that one of their student coaches was a man, and he would come into their locker room and he would just stand there at the door staring at them. And she was asked, just at you? No, he just stares at us, all of us girls, as we're changing. And the issue, yes, that's a horrible thing, but the bigger thing was she felt bad because she's being indoctrinating that this is natural, this is normal. And so she felt bad, something's wrong with her because she was uncomfortable as he's watching her. Now, I know, I have never had an 11-year-old girl, but I would imagine they don't even want their fathers in the rooms with them when they're changing, let alone some strange individual who says I identify as a woman in the locker room. So I would think, that we're all going to have to answer to a much higher power for our role in the destruction, and it is the destruction of children. We all had our issues growing up. We all maybe had some idiosyncrasies, some problems that we had growing up, but I don't think we were ever told that the reason why you have these problems is because you're really a girl or you're really a boy. Basically telling them that God, the God of the universe, he made a mistake when creating you. And man, fallible man, we know what's right, and we can change you into what you really should be. So I think, we all need to take a deep look within ourselves and know that you will stand before a higher power, and you will be asked about your role in what is the destruction of children in this generation. Thank you.
I couldn't have said it any better than what the cat lady said. I mean, fact of the matter is that what these teachers are doing is that they're teaching our kids some stuff that, quite frankly, is not of reality or actually in reality. Now, look, I understand that gender dysphoria is an actual mental illness. I understand that. But the fact of the matter is this right here. You've got a lot of people that are actually using this whole entire thing to just get away with all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, it always comes back to some form of nefarious means. I mean, you've got teachers out there who are doing this stuff so that way they can actually molest kids. Also, something else too. They're trying to indoctrinate our kids while at the same time of showing our kids something that's not in reality. They're confusing the little hell out of them. As she said earlier, these right here are not places where you do social experiments at. What these teachers are trying to do to our kids is absolutely sick, and as we'll be bringing up in the next portion, they will at some point in time be held accountable, if not by society, but definitely by a higher power. The first thing that lady brought up, and we're going to be talking about this a little bit more in the video, about the 11-year-old who saw a grown-ass man in the locker room. And the fact that this little girl feels like she's guilty for bringing this up, or she feels guilty for being uncomfortable, is exactly the type of crap that they're putting on our kids. As I mentioned before with the cat lady, what they are doing is traumatizing the literal hell out of our children, and they're making them feel bad for feeling uncomfortable when seeing a grown-ass man in the locker room. This is sick, twisted, perverse, and evil, and yes, these people will be held accountable, if not by society, definitely by God in heaven. Which brings me to what the other lady said. Now, she said a lot there. I'm going to touch on it very quick. Number one, men should not be in women's locker rooms, okay? Biological men should not be in women's locker rooms. We went through the whole Leah Thomas or William Thomas thing. We already went through that right there. By the way, you got to tread lightly when you say that, because then you'll just get banned from YouTube for bringing it up. So, I mean, you got to think about that right quick. No, they should not be in there, and you're traumatizing girls. No young girl wants no guy in the locker room, okay? I'm sorry. It's just not the way it works, okay? I mean, no girl wants that, and no dude should even be in there. Also, something else, too, that needs to be brought up. Where's the accountability? Where's the accountability to God? Now, I understand that a lot of these people are probably atheists. They don't really believe in God, or they just discard God altogether. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, and I'm not just saying it's because of my actual belief, but of course, I feel that God exists. Almost like I know God exists. I mean, I've been a Christian my entire life, not a very good Christian, but at the end of the day, though, this type of stuff right here is the type of stuff that you're going to be held accountable for. And if you're not being held accountable for it by society, then trust me, God has a way of weeding out stupid people. It's just the way that it is. And it's not just the fact that he weeds out stupid people. It's the fact that when you die, you got to go before him and you got to give account for this. That lady right there is 100% correct. You are going to have to give account for this at some point in time. Has anybody thought about this? If I were you guys and you were pushing this woke stuff, I would cease. I would stop right away. I would stop. I would cease. I would give it up. I'd go straight to church, get saved, and basically what I'm saying is you need Jesus, okay? I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out here. And guys, I got to make one last point about progressives as a whole, okay? And I plan on doing it, and now that I mentioned it, I got to do projects on the left and right wing spectrum. I got to mention this about progressives, because progressives try to act like they're being progressive, like they're actually progressing in society. By the way, I just did a video on Gear Issue 33 about Antifa coming back, which, by the way, I think the best thing you can do in the case of Antifa is just troll and make fun of them, because they're very, very fickle human beings. So I'll leave that video in the description box for you guys. But here's the deal. We have progressed as a society. First of all, we started out from a measly 13 colonies. We built the country up. We had slavery, which, by the way, was the country's original sin. We did eventually end slavery. We had a war to end the slavery, which, by the way, many people will say that they think the Civil War was fought over multiple reasons. I believe it's multiple reasons, because ain't no war ever about one reason. I mean, I'll die on that hill. You had that right there. Of course, times were rough. Race relations, tensions were obviously bad. Jim Crow. You had the Civil Rights Act. And, of course, eventually people began to assimilate into society. People began to get along. And things, of course, changed. And of course, the less you talk about racism, the more likely it is that it goes away. I mean, it's the old Morgan Freeman quote. How do we end racism? Stop talking about it. Fact of the matter is that progressives now demand that you be racist to suddenly be anti-racist. You guys picking up on what I'm saying? Basically, what I'm saying is that progressivism is actually extremely regressive. It regresses the mind, it regresses the body, it regresses the soul, it regresses the overall heart and spirit. It regresses feelings as a whole. And at the end of the day, the more and more desensitized you are, the more and more that you're going to do bad stuff, and the more you're going to be likely to put up with crap like this right here. Parents, of course, are getting tired of it, and they're beginning to speak out, and thank God they are. I mean, you have elections for a reason. As I've always said, the best way you can fix this is start on the state and local level, because the state and local level is actually what controls your day-to-day life. I mean, that's just the way it is. I know I said live instead of lives, but I know you guys can make fun of me in the comment section. The fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, you will be held accountable for this stupid crap that you are doing. You will be held accountable for these decisions, and you will be held accountable for what you are doing to little kids. As a matter of fact, if there is one thing that God does not like, it is going after kids and going after children and corrupting them. Now, guys, I want to end the video on this one little thing. I had never read the book until recently. It was the story Paradise Lost. Now, Paradise Lost is obviously fiction, but it does make a lot of very good points, which, by the way, are biblical and true. You see, Satan could not actually destroy the world. So what he did was he got together with a few goons, and he decided he was going to corrupt the human, corrupt the people, corrupt God's creation through that way, because he couldn't actually take heaven. He couldn't actually destroy the world. So he figured what he would do is he would corrupt God's creation. Now, God's creation has been getting corrupted for years, but it feels to me like it has been intensified at a magnitude never recorded in history. So I say to you one last time, please stop, okay? You are going to be held accountable, if not by society, but by God himself. Guys, John Claymore here. If you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, give me your thoughts in the comment section. I'll see you guys later.